Can you tell the difference between last year's bike and this year's bike? Power?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You feel that. This bike's easier and nicer to ride. Last year's bike was a brute. Just that extra 10 brake horsepower is almost not usable. The bike will spin more or wheeling more. When you get grip it wheelies. When you don't have grip it spins. So you're constantly fighting the bike. That's why if you look at the lap times, the 600 lap times are only 2 seconds roughly slower. You know, and they've got a lot less brake horsepower, but you can use all their power. You know, we're at the point almost where if we had another 10 brake horsepower off, we'd go just as fast probably. It's surprising.
So basically, it's have enough horsepower. Traction is always the issue.
Exactly, and like going back to what I said about the rear tyres spinning so much. You know, if you take away the horsepower, you'll just spin less. So you'll end up, you know, you'll still exit a corner at the same speed. You just run. I guess you just have less traction control active.
Show up at track days, just regular track days.
I did a few
special ones.
I've done a few this year, regular track days because of my shoulder, because I injured my shoulder early on, and then I missed 3 races. So I wanted to see how mobile I was on a bike. So I've done 3 track days this year. I sort of enjoy them and I sort of hate them because some of them, when they're a little bit not too busy, it can be good fun. But when I've been to a few, I went to one busy one this year where it was a nightmare. Obviously I'm going around pretty fast and everybody else is going slow, but I'm on their day, you know, so right. I'm so...
You go with your leathers, like do people...
Oh yeah, people know that, yeah, definitely.
You don't go with like...
No.
So that...
No, people know you. Yeah. People know you are, and everybody's, you know, really respectful, and what's really hard, and you don't realise this until you're on a track with slow people, is when someone's going slow, they can change the line pretty much anywhere they want. When you're going really fast, where you can move the bike is really narrow. It's probably only like maybe 2 meters wide. So when you like committed and you come into a corner and there's a slow rider there and you think, oh no, he's over there, he can't come up, he won't tip in. All of a sudden, this is going so slow, it can tip in a bizarre line and it can be really scary. And there's a few times at track days where you think someone's off the line and they'll do something a bit crazy, and it's, like I say, you're committed and there's nothing you can do apart from close your eyes, which isn't usually not an intelligent thing to do at 160 mile an hour. So I always be on the safe side. I try and give everybody extra room, because I don't want to, obviously I don't want to hurt myself, but I don't want to wreck somebody else's day. And also if you stop people at track days, they panic and stand up and crash. So I don't want to, you know, I'd hate to be responsible for someone wrecking their own street bike and, you know, potentially hurt themselves. I've not got enough fans as it is without knocking them off the track. So yeah.
It's got to be pretty intimidating to show up to a track day and you're sitting there.
You know, they love it. Everybody loves it because they get a real, because we're all, you know, I count myself as we're all armchair supporters. I watch Valentino Rossi and say, oh, Lorenzo should have passed him or whatever, you know. When someone gets on a track with a professional racer, they can't believe how fast we go, you know, because, you know, Jack the lad thinks he's a fast guy, but you're literally, you know, 20-15 seconds a lap faster. So when I can pass people, they're like, oh my god, I didn't think that was possible. But obviously I've got great tyres, I've slick tyres, I've got an incredible bike with great suspension, you know what I mean? So there's a lot in that, but I think it's mind-blowing how fast someone like, you know, a professional rider would come past you. It's a good opportunity. But like in any sport, if you went to a basketball game and actually stood on the court with a professional basketball player, you wouldn't believe what he could do. You know, it's all relative, isn't it?
How much are the bike quarters got?
Well, not really. What they're worth?
Imagine this, they're not.
$100,000.
Yeah, probably they're not as expensive. For instance, last year's bikes that had, you know, probably $100,000 in the engines. Nowadays, the rules are such that there's very little you can do. The actual engine, there's nothing you can change component-wise inside the engine. You just have to optimize it. We can, and then in the bike, all we can change on the bike is actually the wheels and the brakes. The actual forks and the rear shock can be changed. The internals of the forks can be changed, but we're not putting on, you know, $30,000 suspension that we were last year. So it's changed.
It's a lot more affordable.
So So even the factory bike, the actual parts cost is not that much. The time that goes into building them is still very expensive, and that's what makes the difference between, you could take the same parts, put them together, and someone could not go as fast because it's all the development, making sure all the parts work together. So the cost of the bike is probably, between 50 and 100 grand. You can certainly build a competitive bike for way less than that, probably 20 to 30,000.
Yeah.
But then it's all the time that goes into testing, as Neil said, back at the dyno, making sure that the engine is as good as it can get. They spend hours and hours. I mean, they get through engine after engine on the dyno, trying to make it as good as it can be, because you've got very little to work with. So tiny little differences can be really significant on the track, and it's trying to track down those little differences. That's where the cost is.
Well, if anyone's got any cash on them today, they can have one for 75. Just 1,000.
But yours or his?
As long as you rent it back to him for this weekend and next weekend.
Yeah, we'll split it. 75. I mean, that's a good deal. Go on then, I'll take 70.
So, what's your favourite track to ride from?
Brands Hatch in England.
Yeah.
It's a great track. Awesome. It's a little bit dangerous. It's not a lot of runoff, but it's an awesome track. Over here, it'd probably be Miller. That's a great track. I don't like where it's sort of situated, as in, it's like really dustier in Utah, and the track doesn't look pretty, but from actually riding the track's a great circuit. Laguna Seca's good, but everyone says that. Right, I'm going to have to go and prepare myself. I'm going to have 2 Coronas. I always have that before the race.
Thanks, Neil.
And a shot of whiskey.
Need a mix with Jake.
Yeah.